The downfall of kings, emperors, and modern rulers has never come from enemies in plain sight, but from those they trusted most. In this video, we expose the fatal mistake that turns strength into ruin, the illusion of trust. Power is not lost in the battlefield, nor in the marketplace of rivals. It decays in whispers, in the silent betrayal of confidence. The powerful man believes himself secure, yet the moment he places his destiny in another's hands, he places the knife upon his own throat. History is littered with the corpses of those who forgot this truth. Allies are temporary, loyalty is conditional, and every man serves his own advantage. To trust is not a virtue. It is the most dangerous indulgence of all. Power is never seized in open daylight. It is stolen in shadows, under the mask of loyalty. Consider Caesar. The man who conquered nations was not felled by an army, but by his closest allies, Brutus and the Senate he trusted. The wound that ended him was not the dagger, but his own belief that those at his side would never turn it against him. And so we ask, what is more dangerous? Your declared enemies or your devoted friends? You already know the answer. Every man wears a mask, and the mask of loyalty is the most deceptive of all. When someone swears allegiance to you, what are they truly declaring? Not devotion, not love. They are announcing calculation. They have measured what you can give them, and for as long as it benefits them, they will play the part. But here lies the danger. When they no longer gain, they no longer serve. And if your fall promises them advantage, your so-called friend becomes your executioner. History repeats this truth. The French court was a theater of betrayal. Advisors swore eternal service, yet turned at the scent of greater power. The Ottoman sultans trusted viziers who plotted their deaths the very night they dined at their tables. Kings believed their bloodlines protected them, yet their own brothers carved the throne from under them. It is always the loyal ones who stand nearest when the knife enters. And yet, you, like all men, long to trust, to rest, to believe that at least one person will hold your secrets, defend your name, protect your back. This is not weakness of intellect, but weakness of nature. For the human heart seeks safety, but power grants no such luxury. The moment you allow yourself to depend on loyalty, you have created your own blind spot. And in politics, in business, in life itself, blind spots are fatal. Think of it in psychological terms. Why do people act loyal? Because loyalty buys access. It lowers your defenses. It makes you open doors you would otherwise keep closed. A subordinate praises you. A partner assures you. A lover whispers devotion. And you, thirsting to believe, give them access to your resources, your strategies, your vulnerabilities. But here is the cruel truth. Loyalty is never permanent. It is conditional, fragile, and transactional. The human mind is wired to maximize benefit. Today, someone may find their benefit in serving you. Tomorrow, they may find it in betraying you. What changes is not their loyalty, but the balance of incentives. The Roman philosopher Seneca observed that no man is loyal to another man, only to his advantage. If you doubt this, observe the world around you. How many friends stayed loyal to you when fortune shifted? How many colleagues remained beside you when you no longer held the position of strength? Loyalty is the mask. Self-interest is the face beneath. Do not mistake this for cynicism. It is realism. And realism is the only true shield for the powerful. If you accept that loyalty is always conditional, you will no longer be surprised when betrayal arrives. You will anticipate it. You will prepare for it. And most importantly, you will never give another man the chance to strike at your unguarded back. Consider the psychology of manipulation. The clever subordinate does not approach you with hostility. That would be too obvious. He approaches with flattery, with obedience, with sacrifice that seems genuine. Why? Because the greatest manipulator knows that loyalty is the fastest path to power. If he opposed you directly, you would crush him. If he served you convincingly, you would raise him. And the higher you lift him, the closer he comes to your throat. This is the paradox of power. Those who appear most loyal are often the ones you must watch most closely. A rival declares his opposition openly. You can see his weapon. But the loyal one hides his weapon under the cloak of friendship. Which is more dangerous, the enemy across the battlefield or the ally standing beside you, smiling as he sharpens the blade? You already know. So, how should the powerful act? Never dismiss loyalty outright. It is useful. A mask of loyalty can stabilize your reign, pacify your enemies, and keep order in your ranks, but never believe in it fully. Use loyalty as a tool, not as a refuge. Reward it when it serves you, punish its absence ruthlessly, but never let your security depend upon it. The most dangerous moment in power is when you feel safe in another's hands. Safety is the illusion. Suspicion is survival. Remember this: Caesar's last words were not commands to his soldiers, nor curses against his enemies. They were whispered to the man he thought most loyal. Et tu, brute. Do not let those be your last words. And yet, if loyalty is always a mask, what then should replace it? If trust is fatal, what force endures? That is the secret the next lesson reveals. Power is built on control. And trust is the act of surrendering control. The moment you trust, you place your fate in the hands of another. You hand them the keys to your kingdom and pray they do not turn them against you. Tell me, what ruler, what leader, what strategist can afford to gamble his life, his throne, his empire on prayer? The truth is simple. Trust is not a strength. Trust is a wound waiting to be exploited. Look back to the fall of the Byzantine emperors. Each one surrounded himself with generals, ministers, and families sworn to loyalty. Yet their undoing was not the enemy at the gates of Constantinople, but the whispers inside the palace, a trusted general who turned to ambition, a cousin who saw himself as the rightful heir. Each emperor believed trust was a bond, when in fact it was a leash tied around their own necks. And what of modern times? Do you not see the same pattern in politics, in corporations, even in families? The man who trusts too easily becomes predictable. Predictability breeds dependence. Dependence exposes weakness, and weakness is the one thing that invites predators. Think about the psychology of trust. Why do people demand it? Why do they ask for your faith? Because when you trust them, you lower your guard. You silence your suspicion. You stop watching their hands. This is the advantage they crave. It is not love, not loyalty, not mutual respect. It is leverage. The more you trust, the less you control. Ask yourself this: when you trusted most in your life, were you strong or vulnerable? Did trust make you invincible, or did it make you blind to the betrayal that followed? Everyone has their Brutus. Some learn too late. Trust is the sweet poison. It tastes of relief. It feels like security. But its cost is vigilance, and when vigilance dies, power dies with it. Consider Richard III of England. He trusted his nobles to secure his crown, yet those very nobles abandoned him in the decisive moment, leaving him alone on the battlefield of Bosworth. A horse, my kingdom for a horse, he cried. Not because his enemies had outmatched him, but because those he depended upon withdrew their support. His trust was his ruin. Or look to Wall Street, where executives shake hands, sign deals, and smile for cameras, only to be devoured in the boardroom by partners they once trusted. The illusion of loyalty costs them millions, sometimes billions. Do you see how little has changed since the days of kings and empires? The principle remains: trust exposes you. Now you might argue, can a man live without trust? Can a leader operate in constant suspicion? The answer lies in balance. Trust no one fully. Rely on systems, not sentiments. Build structures of accountability that keep even your closest allies under watch. In other words, do not trust the man. Trust the chain that binds him. This is where fear outweighs trust. A man may betray you if he no longer values your trust, but he will hesitate if he fears the consequences. Fear is the iron lock, trust is the paper shield. Which would you choose to guard your crown? And consider human nature. Each person you know serves their own advantage first. Even those who swear eternal loyalty are loyal only as long as it serves them. The moment betrayal offers more reward than faithfulness, they will choose betrayal. It is not malice, it is survival. It is how humans have thrived since the beginning. To deny this is to deny nature itself. So what then should you do? Recognize trust for what it is, a weakness disguised as virtue. Grant it sparingly. Watch even as you reward. Smile even as you doubt. Let men believe you trust them, for it flatters their pride and binds their loyalty temporarily. But inside, remain unmoved, cold, untouched. Trust nothing but the certainty that every man has a price. This is the cruel clarity of power. You must see men not as they appear, but as they are: hungry, self-serving, and willing to betray. Once you grasp this, you cannot be deceived. Once you accept that trust is weakness, you free yourself from its dangers. Remember this always: the chain that binds others to you is not trust. It is control. Control their ambitions, their fears, their rewards, but never your faith. For the moment you allow trust to guide your hand, you place the blade in theirs. And yet, if trust is weakness, what should replace it? What force can endure where trust fails and bind men to your will long after loyalty rots away? That is the lesson of the next truth. Why fear, not trust, is the currency of power. Trust fades, fear endures. A man may love you today and hate you tomorrow. His affection shifts with mood, with fortune, with opportunity. But fear remains constant as long as you command it. This is why rulers who build on trust fall, while those who build on fear endure. Ask yourself, what is more reliable, the fleeting promise of loyalty or the permanent weight of dread? Look to history. Consider Vlad EP, remembered as Vlad the Impaler. His cruelty was legendary, yet his throne remained secure, not because he was loved, but because his enemies trembled to cross him. Even when he was surrounded by rivals, they hesitated. Why? Because his reputation for punishment outweighed their hunger for betrayal. He understood that fear, once established, is a fortress thicker than any wall. Now compare him to Louis XVI of France, a king who sought to be loved by his people, to rule with kindness. His subjects adored him, until hunger, anger, and envy outweighed their affection. The same crowd that cheered his presence in Versailles dragged him to the guillotine. Trust could not save him, love could not save him. Fear was absent, and so his head rolled. The psychology is clear: love binds the heart, fear binds the instincts. A man may reason his way out of love, but he cannot reason his way out of fear. Fear speaks to survival, and survival rules all. In your own life, think of those you lead, whether in business, politics, or even within your circle of influence. Do they obey you because they adore you, or because they fear the cost of defying you? Which obedience lasts longer? Which is harder to shake? Love is fragile. It requires constant feeding, endless reassurance, and careful maintenance. Fear is efficient. Once established, it requires little to preserve. A single demonstration of consequence can echo for years. This is why generals stage executions, why CEOs fire publicly, why parents discipline sternly. It is not mere cruelty, it is strategy. One act of punishment shapes the behavior of hundreds. A single consequence speaks louder than 1,000 promises. But let us go deeper. Why does fear hold greater power than trust? Because trust is external. You place your security in another's hands. Fear is internal. It lives within the other man's mind, governing his choices even when you are absent. He may leave your presence, he may escape your influence, but he cannot escape the shadow of fear once it has rooted itself in him. Consider the Mafia Don. His soldiers may love him, may even admire him. But what keeps them loyal is not affection. It is the knowledge that betrayal carries an unthinkable cost. It is fear that prevents ambition from rising against him. Remove that fear and see how quickly ambition turns to rebellion. This principle applies everywhere. In corporations, the executive who rules with charm may win allies, but when the company falters, those allies abandon him. The executive who commands with fear may be disliked, but he remains obeyed even in crisis. Which would you prefer? To be adored today and discarded tomorrow, or to be feared today and remembered always? Yet, let us be precise. Fear must be measured. Excessive cruelty breeds desperation, and desperation can spark revolt. But a carefully balanced fear, mixed with calculated fairness, creates stability. A ruler who punishes decisively but rewards justly is respected, even if not loved. And respect born from fear lasts longer than affection. Even in personal relationships, this principle lurks. The partner who fears losing you will cling tighter than the one who merely loves you. The employee who fears disappointing you will work harder than the one who only seeks your approval. The friend who fears your disapproval will guard your secrets more carefully than the one who only trusts your kindness. Fear sharpens bonds where trust weakens them. Do you see? Fear is the currency of power. It requires no constant repayment, no endless reassurance. It circulates on its own, compounding in the minds of those who serve you. Trust is a fragile contract written in water. Fear is carved into stone. But here is the question that must be asked: how far should one go? At what point does fear secure your rule, and at what point does it ignite rebellion? The answer lies in the art of balance. And it leads us to the next truth, the principle that betrayal is not an accident, but an inevitability. Betrayal is not rare, it is not shocking, it is not even accidental, it is inevitable. Every throne, every empire, every dynasty has been broken not from external enemies, but from betrayal within. To believe otherwise is to misunderstand human nature. Men do not betray because they are evil. They betray because it is profitable. Ask yourself, when was the last time you were truly betrayed? By a friend, a colleague, perhaps even family. Did it come as a surprise? Of course, you told yourself their loyalty was unshakable. And yet, when their self-interest outweighed their devotion, they turned. Should you blame them, or yourself, for failing to anticipate the obvious? History gives us endless reminders. Consider the fate of the Roman Emperor Commodus. Surrounded by advisors and guards sworn to his protection, he indulged in arrogance. He believed his position untouchable. Yet it was not the barbarian hordes that ended him. It was a trusted wrestling partner who strangled him in his own palace. Betrayal, once again, was closer than he imagined. Or take the case of the mighty Julius Caesar. His assassins were not foreign enemies, but senators he considered allies. His final words were directed not at a stranger, but at Brutus, the man he regarded almost as a son. This is the true essence of betrayal. It wounds deepest because it comes from those you chose to trust. But let us leave history for a moment and look at psychology. Why do men betray? Because loyalty is fragile. It exists only when the cost of betrayal is higher than the reward. Shift the balance, make betrayal more rewarding, and loyalty collapses instantly. It is not morality that governs behavior, but calculation. This applies everywhere. In the boardroom, executives ally with you as long as your leadership benefits them. The moment they see more advantage in aligning with your rival, they betray. In politics, allies support you as long as your star rises. The instant it begins to fade, they abandon ship, proclaiming they never believed in you to begin with. Even in personal life, betrayal is always a lurking possibility. A partner, a friend, a confidant, each remains loyal only until self-interest demands otherwise. So, how do you defend against betrayal? You cannot prevent it entirely. That is the first truth you must accept. To believe otherwise is to live in illusion, but you can anticipate it. You can limit its damage. You can control when and how it strikes. The wise leader expects betrayal as naturally as the coming of winter. He does not ask, will they betray me? He asks, when and how costly will it be? This mindset transforms betrayal from a shocking disaster into a calculated risk. Think of betrayal as a tax on power. It is unavoidable. The stronger you rise, the more you must pay it. The closer your allies stand, the sharper their daggers become. Yet, if you anticipate this, you are never unprepared. You spread your risks. You divide power among many, so that no single betrayal can destroy you. You keep rivals in competition with each other, so their betrayals cancel out. This is why rulers have always used spies, informants, and double agents. They know betrayal cannot be eliminated, but it can be managed. Better to know the knife is being sharpened than to feel it in your back without warning. But let us go deeper. Betrayal is not always destructive. Sometimes it is useful. By allowing a minor betrayal, you expose the traitor and remind others of the consequences. By staging betrayal, you create fear and loyalty where none existed. Betrayal, when anticipated, can even be weaponized. Think of the Medici in Florence. They allowed plots to form only to crush them publicly. Each betrayal strengthened their grip because it reminded the people that no treachery went unseen or unpunished. Fear grew, obedience followed. The betrayal principle became not a threat, but a tool. And here is the paradox: the more powerful you become, the more betrayal surrounds you. Not because men grow more wicked, but because you grow more tempting to betray. Power is a prize, and every prize invites thieves. To hold power is to live in a permanent state of suspicion. To forget this is to die by it. So the next time you look into the eyes of an ally, ask yourself what incentive binds them to you today, and what reward might one day tempt them away. If you cannot answer, you are already vulnerable. Remember this: betrayal is not an exception to human behavior. It is the rule. And yet, there is a way to live within this truth without being destroyed by it. There is a method to master suspicion, to channel distrust into strategy, to turn paranoia into power. That is the art of controlled suspicion, the subject of our next lesson. Suspicion is poison if left unchecked. But in the right hands, it becomes medicine, sharpening your instincts, protecting your crown, and giving you mastery over men. The weak either trust blindly or drown in paranoia. Both paths lead to ruin. The strong practice balance. They live with suspicion, but they do not let suspicion consume them. They control it. They wield it. Ask yourself, how do you treat the people closest to you? Do you give them total trust? Or do you allow just enough doubt to keep them in line? History teaches us that unchecked suspicion destroys. Look at Stalin. His paranoia grew so wild that he trusted no one, not even his most loyal generals. He executed allies, purged friends, and left his state weakened by his fear. Yes, he survived, but at the cost of crippling the very structure that upheld him. Suspicion without control becomes chaos. On the other hand, look at Elizabeth I of England. She ruled a court filled with plots, betrayals, and religious divisions. Yet she mastered the art of suspicion. She never trusted her advisors fully, but neither did she alienate them with madness. She kept spies in every corner of her realm. She allowed conspiracies to form, only to crush them at the decisive moment. Her reign endured for decades because her suspicion was calculated, never reckless. This is the art you must master: controlled suspicion. Psychology explains why it works. When people believe you trust them completely, they relax. They scheme, they grow bold in their secrets. But when they sense you are watching, just enough, they hesitate. They fear discovery. Controlled suspicion does not suffocate loyalty, but it keeps ambition from growing too dangerous. Consider your workplace. If you give full trust to an employee, he may grow complacent, or worse, he may exploit your confidence for his own gain. If he knows his actions are monitored, if he feels the quiet presence of your scrutiny, he remains sharp, careful, disciplined. Suspicion disciplines without words, but control is key. If you suspect too little, you are blindsided. If you suspect too much, you paralyze your own rule. The art lies in balance. Trust enough to inspire service, but doubt enough to prevent betrayal. This balance is what makes suspicion a weapon rather than a weakness. Think of it like a chess game. The opponent across from you smiles, makes polite conversation, perhaps even praises your moves. Do you believe his kindness? No. You watch his hands, his eyes, the quiet adjustments he makes on the board. Your suspicion guides your defense, but you never let it distract you from the strategy. That is controlled suspicion, alert, yet not consumed. Now let us return to the realm of power. The most effective rulers have always kept their allies close, yet under constant watch. They rewarded loyalty but never allowed any man to become indispensable. They divided responsibilities so that betrayal by one could be offset by another. They spread suspicion like a net, not to strangle, but to catch the inevitable traitor before he struck. Controlled suspicion also serves another purpose. It reminds others that you are not blind. People behave differently when they believe they are seen. This is why spies are more powerful than armies. A man may defy swords, but he cannot escape eyes. Even in personal life, this principle applies. Imagine a friend who always probes for your weaknesses, who flatters, who listens too intently. Do you dismiss suspicion and hand them your secrets? Or do you hold back, feeding them just enough to keep them satisfied, while never giving them the weapon to use against you? That is controlled suspicion in its simplest form, knowing what to reveal and what to conceal. And here lies the true power of it. Suspicion does not mean open hostility. It means restraint. It means never showing all your cards. It means keeping others uncertain about how much you know. A man who feels completely trusted grows bold. A man who feels completely distrusted grows desperate. But a man who feels watched subtly, silently, remains cautious. And caution keeps him under your control. So, how do you practice it? By listening more than you speak. By rewarding loyalty publicly, while questioning it privately. By creating systems where no one holds absolute power, where every man knows that his actions are seen, weighed, and judged. By never giving your full trust, not even to those you love most. This is not cruelty. It is survival. It is clarity. For betrayal is inevitable, but destruction is not. Suspicion, controlled and deliberate, ensures that betrayal wounds, but never kills. Remember this, it is not enough to suspect. You must master suspicion, direct it, shape it, control it. Because in the game of power, the eyes that never close are the ones that never fall. But there is one more truth you must face. Suspicion alone is not enough. To rule, to endure, you must also understand how to bend appearances themselves. And that is where the true art of deception begins. Power is never about force alone. It is about control, subtle, invisible, unspoken. The greatest rulers did not chain men's bodies. They chained their minds. Suspicion, fear, and calculated deception. These are the silent levers of power. Control people without them ever realizing they are being controlled, and you own them completely. Ask yourself, would you rather be obeyed because they love you or because they cannot escape you? One fades, the other endures. The weak seek trust, the strong command influence, and the master shapes reality itself until men believe his will is their own. That is the true art, the art of power without resistance, the art of control without chains. Now, I ask you, how far would you go to master this art? Comment your thoughts below. Subscribe for more strategies drawn from the darkest truths of power. And share this video so others may learn what most fear to understand. Because knowledge of power is itself power, and only those who grasp it will never be ruled.